So 2 days ago, we got new information regarding Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and that was met with some disappointment, but some of the other fans were still excited. You could probably say it was the most controversial letter so far, and that would honestly be true, but there are a few things that I think you guys may have missed. So in today's video, we're going to go over that and probably talking about your concerns as well as my thoughts and opinions on why I'm still hyped for the game and why I still think that the Solar Hotel could be executed well. And the one thing I saw often was that people were calling this a Forza Horizon clone or the Crew 2 clone, which honestly, let's actually find out in this video if they're right or wrong. So let's recap the letter first. Now, quick interruption, as I'm sure you guys are already aware, I'm always gonna have a more optimistic and positive view on news, even when some of you guys might think it's bad. And in my opinion, I won't really see it as bad as other people do, and that's just who I am. That's just how I see things. So I already know some of you guys are gonna disagree with that, but hey, don't blame me. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So here was this month's Solar Club letter, and I've already highlighted some key pieces of information for you guys. The first thing I want to mention is this line here: in the comfort of this premium suite, your temporary home. So this already kind of confirms that this isn't going to be our permanent place, which again, we're going to get to later, because at the end of the letter, they did mention that houses would be coming post-launch. Now, moving on, it does say the Solar Crown organization also stipulates that the most distinguished members will be offered increasingly prestigious suites as they move up through the ranks and gain more reputation. Now, of course, the unknown here is that we don't know if we have to pay for these advanced suites as we increase our level, but nonetheless, there is at least more than one suite. So we're going to compare this bar for bar later, but let's continue down to the letter. And the next part I want to show you is this: the Solar Crown organization will give you more details on the rules and interactions between members in the lobby in a future newsletter. Now, this is very key because we haven't actually learned everything about the Solar Hotel. I mean, there's probably so much more unexplored about this place, such as the garage, such as other features. All of the things that this hotel will offer you, again, are going to be mentioned in a later date. Now, moving on through the letter, the last piece I think is the most important. Now, this quote from Alan Janou, he does say, "We added this fantastic place and its rooms to enhance the accommodation concept in the TDU series," which, fair enough, it actually does enhance the accommodation concept, and does continue on saying, "Fans of the franchise will remember houses in TDU 2, where you could extend your garage, but it was a very personal experience. Even though you can invite your friends, you must first make friends, and this is the objective of the Solar Hotel." So it seems they're trying to go the social route, which again, social games kind of have a more connection with the consumer in that sense. Continue on, he does say, while this feature is not in the game when TDC launches, it is a part of a long list of features we have already researched for future content in the medium and long term. And continuing off from that, the letter does say, as you can see, to help with the competition run smoothly in its first year, the Radiant has decided to host all its members in the same place. Now, you can kind of see the reason as to why they chose the hotel, because it seems very connected to the story in that sense. Granted, the letter does continue on to say, but there are very few limits to the Radiant's ambitions, and many investment projects are already being explored for future years. These projects will include real estate projects that would directly contribute to the Radiant's growth and global influence of the Solar Crown and its ever-increasing numbers. And of course, at the end, rest assured that all the Radiant's construction teams are hard at work and putting the finishing touches to their project. And I kind of went over this in my past video, but it seems that Radiant is actually looking to expand real estate throughout the island, which is something, by the way, Eden Games wanted to do with Test Drive Unlimited 2. They wanted to expand Ibiza and Hawaii with more houses, give us more cars, stuff like that. Alan Janou wasn't able to do it. Now he has a competent publisher and he can do this amazing post-launch support. But let's get into the juicy details. Is this a Forza Horizon clone? Well, let's check it out. So this, my friends, is Test Drive Unlimited 1, and this is how houses work. Now, it's worth noting that Info Games purchased Eden Games in the year of 2002, and this game, TDU 1, released in 2006. So roughly about 4 years of dev time, probably more, give or take, but that's how long it took to create this game. Now, as you guys can see, you had these menu style systems, and this isn't to say that this is equal to Forza Horizon, because it isn't. But as you guys can see, you had all of these different things you could do inside of your house, from the news here as well, which was actually pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen this. Okay, so this was actually a news thing, and if I move over to this screen, this is how houses worked. You can see all these different news about the game that you have and your progress, all the days that you received all of it, which is pretty cool. You had your photo album, game progress, which I've already talked to you guys about, trade, which you can buy and sell used vehicles, and then your character, which is basically your wardrobe. Going over to your garage though, this is how garages worked. Now, just like always, you could also go to details, move around your car, open the doors, the windows, zoom, go to the interior. This is exactly how it worked in Test Drive Unlimited 1, and I do apologize, the car is probably revving right now. I can't change it, my wheel is all the way over there, but this is how it worked in the game, and it was pretty good, man. Honestly, for this time, this was a really good system. But let's see how it works in the follow-up game, Test Drive Unlimited 2. Okay, so here we are in Test Drive Unlimited 2, going inside one of the many houses found on both Ibiza and Oahu, which of course we're in Hawaii at the moment. But this is how they worked. As you guys can see, very cool. What you had here though was this. You had your info, which was basically an advanced version of TDU1. You still had your photos, leaderboards, TDU My House, which you could customize your house from the walls to the flooring to the chair. Again, not everything, but majority of everything inside of the house you could customize, which was pretty cool. Another thing that you could do in this game was, if you go back to the menu, it was called My TDU Life, and as you guys can see, this was it. It was basically your entire thing, and if I go to this side, you can see that this is all customizable. If I click on edit, you guys can see that we could change every single thing about this. I mean, you could remove stuff from here, reorganize it, edit it with different items that you want to see, change your mood. It was pretty cool, and of course, you could even take a photo, which if I do right now, you could actually change. Hold on, let's not actually take a side-eye shot. We'll take something serious like this. Bam, you had a new picture like that. And you could also do this in the casino as well, which was pretty good. Now, of course, you also had this, which was the TV, and you could see the news as well as the weather, which of course you guys know was pretty insane. Then you also had the news channel and DLC, which was basically your help channel to find out more about it. And moving on, you were also able to frame the pictures you took in game in the houses, which was honestly timeless. I still think that's one of the most underrated features, but right here, as you guys can see, we're now going to take a look at how garages worked in this game. And just like every house around here, you were limited on garage space, and you can walk around your car, sit in it as well, drive, change place. You can maneuver the cars around, check the data of them in here, get into the car, look around, and this is what you could do, just like TDU1, except obviously the walking feature is now in the game. Obviously windows, everything is still there. But how does that stack up against Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown? Well, let's actually compare this right now. So now, as you guys can see, I have the letter on the screen, and we're going to compare this bar for bar just to see if it's better. So starting off, it does say Vivian does graciously gift you the first suite, which is technically like TDU2, except obviously it's not a shack, which again, you don't need to live in a shack to define the rags to riches storyline or the rags to riches progression. That can still be there, just that we're starting in a different suite, because at the end of the day, you can't really copy what TDU2 did. You're gonna have to change some things, and honestly, as much as some people would have wanted to be in a shack again, if we're being honest, I'm down to see something new. Now, the first thing it does mention is wardrobe, which of course in TDU2 you literally still had this. You had a walk-in closet, which you guys can see. You could change your clothing, obviously everything. A lot of you guys already know this, so that's there and it's still in the game. So another thing it says is that all the suites have an augmented reality screen with a wide range of information, weather, upcoming challenges, player profile, and progress details. So again, let's go ahead and check that right now. So first off, you have the TV. Now it seems they kind of integrated two things into one. So the TV, as you guys can see, we have the weather channel, the news channel, and the DLC help channel, which technically I think could intertwined between these two, but there were more channels here. But don't forget, there were supposed to be more channels here, which EDA Games didn't have time to add post-launch. But anyways, that's that. So we still have the weather, we still have the news. Then you have this. My TDU Life is where you could customize the house. Now it's worth noting, now there's two things that haven't been mentioned in this letter. That's the garage and customization of the suites. So that would be My TDU House to match with it, and then obviously the garage. We don't know how those will work yet, but as I said earlier, we're probably going to find out later. Now you obviously also had leaderboards, my photos, and My TDU Life is basically where you can do all of your progression things. You guys can see, you can change the photo. If I really wanted to, I can edit every single thing in My TDU Life. For example, user profile, let's change it. It asks the gamer type I am. Listen, am I explorer? Am I a student? Am I a creator? I guess I'm a creator for YouTube. There you go, just like that. You've now changed your user profile. This is what people saw when they went to go take a look at you. So that's pretty sick. And if you go back to the letter, of course, it does say that. Weather, check upcoming challenges. That's actually a step further now. player profile, and progress details. So that is literally all there so far, guys. Now, another thing I want to mention is that it does say as you go up above the ranks, you earn better suites. So we don't know how many ranks or how many suites there are going to be in this game. However, I think it's safe to assume there's going to be a decent amount in here anyways, which is pretty good. So we still have that concept of having to progress through the game and get a better house. And even better, if garage space is limited and it's tied to the progression, then that definitely still adds value to the solar hotel. Remember, it does say that it's your temporary home, guys, so we're not going to be here forever. So of course, with all those features technically still being intertwined with the solar hotel, they've actually taken it a step further by now including a clothing shop, which, listen, I don't think this is the only clothing shop that's going to be in the entire game. I'm pretty sure they're going to scatter across the island, and that's the same thing for even the beauty salon. It kind of makes sense to have it scattered across the island as well, which of course, as you guys can see, they've literally turned this into a hub. So this is where you start off. This is where you can see all the challenges. It's where you meet people, and of course, you don't know how many players can be in one lobby in this entire space, but honestly, I hope it's a lot. And I do want to also mention, I know people are saying that these look big. I think when we actually are playing the game, when the field of view is actually finished, I don't think these are gonna look as spacious as they do in these pictures. I think the field of view is turned up here. Honestly, I think it's technically going to be a lot smaller than you think. So when we actually get gameplay and we walk around these places, it could very well be good, especially when they're fully packed with a lot more players. So when you really think about it like that, guys, honestly, we're not really losing that much from the house aspect from TDU2 to Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. It's all still there, although we still need to learn about customization as well as, of course, framing your wallpaper. I hope even though it's a hotel, we should be able to do that. The same thing with customizing. But the garage, the website literally says this if you scroll down: a dream garage. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is above all about a love of cars, especially luxury cars. Cars that signify a certain status, but also cars that win races. Your garage will be home to... I kind of think that means that we're going to have garages return. However, just like I said before, maybe as you progress through the levels, your garage space does increase. And I also want to point out the way that you've kind of worded the Solar Hotel, it kind of makes you think that this is the HQ, the flagship building. It literally says it right there on the screen. So technically, I think houses post-launch are going to be tied into the story in the sense where the Radiant expands real estate. But now let's check out the other game, since some people have been calling this a Forza Horizon or the Crew 2 clone, which, come on now, is ridiculous, but we'll test it out anyways. Welcome to the Crew 2, which I haven't booted up in a very, very long time. I'm sorry, Ubisoft, I do still love your game, and I think that this is underrated. Let's take a look at the houses in this game, which, by the way, the recent DLCs for this game have been pretty insane. I gotta give hats off to Ivory Tower for that in this video, because honestly, you guys done pretty well, man. So here we are in the free open world, and this is one of your houses, which, by the way, if we zoom out really quick, bro, I have to do this quick because if I stay on this game any longer, I'm gonna probably start playing it because I do quite miss it. But anyways, you guys can see there's a home on this side, which I'm pretty sure might have a different style anyways, but we're going to go to the house that I'm near right now, which is all the way over here in this corner. So let's drive inside and see what happens. This is it. These are the houses you have in the Crew 2. You can't really customize it per se in terms of changing your furniture around, but hey, it's a house nonetheless. I guess we can consider that. Let's look outside. You know, it's basically your HQ. However, there's nothing like the social hub management like there is in Solar Crown. You can't really invite players here. I could be wrong. Maybe you can invite players, but you do have an elevator for checking things out other than your planes and your boats. You can see here we have the garage of cars, which again, it wasn't limited. You can have unlimited amount of cars in this game, except I don't think you can own two. I could be wrong, but anyways, this is it. And all you have to do was focus, and you can basically open up the doors. Windows worked, and we have lights as well if you want to turn those on. And if you want, let's sit in the car, and the same thing works for the other side. Look around, horn, start engine. You guys can see here, we can still turn the wheels. That's actually pretty sick. But anyways, yeah, you can still do all this. So this part, the garage aspect, is technically the same as TDU. You could say it's probably a little bit better, but that part is there. However, the whole house and the wardrobe and all that, it's not really there. It's not really a house per se, so still nonetheless, it's nothing like Test Drive Unlimited 2, and it's nothing like Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Solar Crown is still closer to TDU2 and TD1 than it is of the Crew 2. But let's check Forza Horizon now, because apparently everyone clones that game. Okay, so here we are, Forza Horizon 5, starting off at the festival, which, first off, you can't even walk in Forza Horizon 4 or Forza Horizon 5, so this is kind of pointless to even add in the video. But anyways, as you guys can see, we have the festival. If you go inside here, you have Forza Vista, which you can walk around your car per se and check it out. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to check out houses in this game, which are basically scattered all across the world, but I think they're useless. Why? Well, if you fast travel here, which we have to actually pay for anyways, you've arrived here at your destination, and basically these are just spawn points. There's nothing to them, and you can't even select them when you're here, which sucks. You need to actually be a certain distance away. Here we go. Enter the house. You can't walk around it. You can't see the interior. They're literally spawn points. So how... listen, I don't know how. So honestly, like, I know some of you guys are trolling, but like, come on, bro. Let's take this seriously now. Let's not call TDU SC a Forza clone just because it doesn't have a house. It still has houses, but in a different form, and most of the features have still retained. And remember, it's temporary. We're going to be getting houses post-launch anyways. And of course, depending on how KT do this, if garage space is limited and garage space is also tied to your progression, so the more you progress through the game, the more garage space you have, honestly, I'm okay with it. Let's continue on with the video. And by the way, I find that another argument that some people bring up is that how can KT not have all of these features in a launch? Well, hold on, let's think about that for a second. Test Drive Unlimited 1 and Test Drive Unlimited 2 came out over a decade ago, and it's worth noting that back then, development time was a lot shorter, and of course, they didn't have to make textures that detailed, especially compared to now. I mean, if KT came out with a game that looked like TD2, it would be bombarded with how the graphics aren't up with today's standard, and that's something we can all admit. It's worth noting that TD1 took around 5 years to make, and then TD2 around the same as well. But it's worth noting that it was only that short because Atari made Eden Games reuse the same engine and the same assets. So essentially, remaking Oahu was pretty easy. In fact, all the houses, all of the buildings, they were pretty much already done. All they had to do was make the mechanic of walking around instead of just having a menu style system, which honestly, when you think about it, I'm not saying that what Eden Games did wasn't a massive achievement. I'm just saying that you guys need to understand how long it will really take to make a TDU game from scratch with all the features that we expect. Because otherwise, if you think about it, technically we should have expected a game like TD1 with menu style stuff, but thankfully that's not what we're getting. We're getting the open world thing, and KT have somehow made this game within 5 years with a ton, literally a ton of Test Drive Unlimited features still remaining. And of course, houses, I would have loved to have them in, but again, they got cut, and it's going to be in the game post-launch, tied into the story somehow. And KT isn't doing this because they're thinking, oh, maximum sales, because obviously if they wanted to maximize sales, wouldn't they have just put houses in at launch so that people would be like, oh, yay, I'm buying the game, and people wouldn't say no houses, no buy? Gotta think about that for a second. But even so, I mean, you have to make the physics, the world map, the story, all the buildings, the interiors. Listen, it's not easy making a TDU game from scratch, guys, because there's more than racing, and it is what it is. So unfortunately, this is just the route they had to go. However, I don't think that this means that they're greedy. I don't think this means that KT isn't listening to the fans just because this feature isn't in at launch. I think the one thing that gamers need to understand today is that we can't look at games from a 100% consumer side. In all honesty, if you understand some form of development, you'll probably have better insight in why games are the way they are, or because sometimes gamers just ask for a lot, and if we keep asking for a lot, games will never be finished because it's going to take a long time to develop such a game, which kind of ties into why I also think I don't know why there's a huge hate for post-launch, especially if it's free updates. But anyways, let's continue on with the video. And another thing I want to point out, by the way, is this is from Alan Janu in 2020. So it does say we did develop the new test drive concept by keeping the DNA of the game concept, and then he says right after,
in game mode,
but also evolving the gameplay and game modes to make them more modern. Which, fair enough, things from the TDU DNA are gonna have to change to make this, in my opinion, more modern, and that's kind of what we've seen so far. And this is my pretty much fake TDU SC project. Now granted, you guys can see on the right hand side of the screen, there is a ton of things I've added, and this is nowhere near done. So what have I done here? Well, we know that there's 14 districts scattered across TDU SC's Hong Kong Island. That's what KT have already told us in a past newsletter. They've also told us about a couple of places that we'll be able to find and explore across the island. Now, all these blue landmarks that you see are going to be dealerships. So there's 14 dealerships scattered across the island. Now, everything in orange is Rex. Now, I've kind of assumed that we're probably going to be getting something similar to TDU rather than Forza Horizon, which is just you find something once and that's your barn find. Instead, we're probably going to get something like TD2, where scattered across the island, you have to find multiple Rex for one car. Which, of course, as you guys can see, I haven't really added that many. TDU2, even for one car, you had sometimes 10 Rex you had to find in an area, which was insane. So for me, I've definitely underrated how many of these orange icons are going to be all over the map. Another thing, we also have these two X's, which, hold on, I don't really even remember why I put two X's. Another thing I've done is put the two HQs, the Streets HQ and the Sharps HQ. I don't think that this is the exact correct location, but anyways, they're there. Everything in red, workshops. Yes, we're still supposed to be getting workshops. Another thing, casinos, nightclubs, rooftops. Those are also things that are mentioned to be scattered across the map. Of course, there are things like the photo op in TDU2, which you had to go to and it was an explorable place. And then there's things such as gas stations, which also are scattered across the map. In fact, there's actually, I'm sure, a ton more points of interest that we can interact with compared to other open world racing games, because again, the lifestyle features of TDU enable that to have the map have more features scattered across, because you can do more than just race, and that's exactly what makes sense. There's 600 kilometers of road, in fact over 600 kilometers of road that we're going to be exploring all across this beautiful island. So surely explorability and points of interest scattered all across the map is still going to be there. This isn't going to make the map feel empty. In fact, in the past newsletter, they even mentioned you'll find 14 districts to explore, and each one full of activities, events, and objects to find and collect. So listen, this map is going to be dense, it's going to be packed. So I wouldn't be too worried about everything being in the Solar Hotel, because let's be honest, I don't think it is, and that's just my opinion. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I think it makes sense that KT haven't gone that route, especially after saying all of this. But the thing is to note, even if we aren't comparing garages, because we haven't really found out about how garages will work in the Solar Hotel, comparing houses and the Solar Hotel is kind of the same. I mean, we do still have upgradable rooms, we have more than one real estate, which is more than the Crew 2, and of course Forza Horizon, it doesn't really have houses, it's more of a teleportation device, I'd like to say. But there's still a sense of progression in TDU SC, because you're starting off at a lower level suite, and the more you gain levels, you get a better suite, of course. And I'm sure that they might even tie that into garage space, because it makes sense. As you also increase the level, you get more garage space for your vehicles. And like I said, you can still free roam around your house, change your wardrobe. So technically, like I said, it's not a house, but at least in some shape and form, it kind of is. But remember, it is our temporary home, and the Radiant are going to explore more real estate in a future update. And I don't think that this is going to be something we're gonna have to wait for a long time, because it seems that KT and Akon are going to have a pretty good post-launch support. And I've already gone over this, so I'm not really going to do it much again. But if you do remember, Test Drive Unlimited 2 was going to have a ton of post-launch. I mean, we have construction sites of places that were going to be built. Now imagine, obviously it's the same creative director, he's gonna want to do something similar. That real estate agency that we saw in this screenshot, as you can see right here, could actually very well be activated. I mean, I still kind of want to say this looks like an in-game icon, so this could actually very well be an activated place once the DLC happens. I mean, come on, it is right there. And we did have something similar in TD2. I mean, the auction house, it did have a construction site. In fact, it was activated later. And the same thing goes for bikes in Test Drive Unlimited 2. There was actually a construction site and a bike DLC sign in the game to let us know that it was coming very soon, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure we're going to see something very similar in Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below on houses and where you guys stand with them. Like I said, for me, I'm still hyped. Would I have loved to have houses at launch? Of course. I think everyone would have, but does that mean I'm not hyped for the game anymore? Does that mean I think the game is going to be trash? Does that mean I think the game is going to be a clone of Forza Horizon or the Crew? Well, I mean, come on, common sense would lead you to believe that that's probably not going to be true, and this game is still going to be very different from all the other races out right now. Granted, I personally think once everyone sees gameplay of this game and sees how it actually works in the open world and when you actually play it, I think a lot more people are going to be more welcoming of it. But nonetheless, I'm still excited for the game and I can't wait for more. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, and what you're most excited for. And while you're at it, let me know what you think the next newsletter is going to be about. And of course, up on the screen, as always, you guys are going to see another video. If you want to go ahead and check it out, go ahead and click on it. And that's all I have to say in this video, guys. You already know what it is. I'm X7, and I'll see you guys in another video. I'm out, guys. Peace.